What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. And I always ask, if you like what you're hearing, that you consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing so that we can spread this information, we can spread the truth and knowledge. Well, what you see here, this is Lee Circle in the city of New Orleans, a famous landmark, Lee Circle. And well, as you can see, it's just Circle now because General Lee's statue has been removed. This was one of 4 highly controversial Civil War era monuments, all of which have been taken down here in the city of New Orleans. And the question has to be asked, are we better off because of it? Is the city of New Orleans better off because of removing these statues? And what about blacks? You know, this is a majority black city. Are black people in this city now better off because of the removal of these statues? You know, I mean, are we better off economically now? I mean, it's tourism. You know, we are a tourist city. Do we get more tourists, or are we getting more tourists now because of the removal of this statue? What about crime? I mean, is crime down? Is the rate of crime down? Has crime significantly dropped because of the removal of these statues? Nope. And what about murder? We have a higher murder rate than the city of Chicago. Has the murder rate in the city of New Orleans dropped because of the removal of these statues? Nope. And education. And as you know, in Louisiana, we don't have counties like other states. We have parishes. And Orleans Parish is the parish of pretty much the city of New Orleans. And every year, for decades, Orleans Parish has been dead last in education in the city, in the state. So is Orleans Parish no longer dead last? No, well, it's still dead last in education. So the question has, I mean, again, how are we better off now because of the removal of these statues? We aren't. And the removal of these statues is basically just liberal leftist emotional nonsense. Now, there's really 2 things that really get me about this whole statue issue. The first thing is, I've heard talk of people saying that, well, we need to take the statues and we need to put them in a museum so they can be accurately depicted. Okay, I'm supposed to be upset if I see these statues out in public, but not if I see them in a museum, which represents the exact same thing. That makes no sense. That's only liberal leftists can come up with bullshit arguments like that. That's ridiculous. The second issue that I have with this whole statue thing is that if these statues are so bad that we have to remove them, that we have to take them down because they remind us of the Civil War, which was, you know, was about supposedly slavery. That if the idea of slavery is so offensive that we have to take down statues, even though slavery is a human being thing that's been going on since the beginning of time. But if we have to take down statues because of slavery, because slavery is so offensive, then why are black people always crying about slavery? Hell, that's all blacks do. All we do is cry about slavery all the time, and 400 years of slavery, and white folks have this 400 years of advantage over us. So if slavery is so offensive, shouldn't we stop crying about it as well as taking down the statue? I mean, if we're going to sit here and just cry all the time, we could have let the statues up. Now, the street that you see here, this is St. Charles Avenue, and I would have to say that as far as Mardi Gras and Carnival season, this has to be the most important street, because I know most people will say, well, Bourbon Street, because everybody knows Bourbon Street. That's a worldwide known street. And hell, even Canal Street. But I would have to say St. Charles Avenue, because the majority of the parades that pass in the city takes the traditional St. Charles Avenue route. And many of people have stood here for years, for decades. People of all ages, races, genders, all the genders, even though there's only 2, have stood here and watched parades pass by for decades. And has anybody been offended? Yeah, I've passed by here before during parade season, and I don't remember seeing anybody upset, angry, and rage. If they were, then why would they be standing here by the statue? But I just love to know exactly how is the city better off because of the removal of these statues. We always hear the cries of the underfunded schools and how the inner city schools, which includes New Orleans, which is largely an urban area, they're underfunded and they don't have the funding they require, but we have money to take down statues. Makes a whole lot of sense now. I would say that the thing that's really ironic about this, or the irony of this, is that generally freed slaves. I mean, he inherited slaves from his parents, and I believe as his in-laws as well. He inherited slaves from them and he freed them. So if the issue is slavery and being anti-slavery, then wouldn't we want to keep his statues up? I mean, yeah, he did fall for the war, but the Civil War was fought for more than just slavery. To say that slavery was the definitive issue is ridiculous. They had a lot more in stake with the Civil War than just slavery. And the building that you see behind you, I would just like to inform y'all that World War II Museum, if you ever visit the city of New Orleans, and I would say it's a must-see because it was an awesome experience to see the different vehicles, the tanks, the planes, and I would suggest anyone visit, even if you live here. I suggest that you visit. But anyway, like I said, if anyone has any real evidence of exactly how the city of New Orleans or the blacks in this city are better off now because of the removal of the removal of these statues, then I would love to know, and I would love for people to show me the evidence of it. That way we will at least know that removing these statues were worth it. But until then, it was just a pointless act. It was just a liberal emotional gesture. That's what liberals always do. But anyway, y'all, and as always, I would say thank you for watching and thanks for the support. And until next time.